I found a recruitment agency via a friend called Banking and Finance Recruitment. Just made my mind up at that point in time that if I ever got into it, I would always help people as much as possible. You probably have to have the right attitude to start off with. If you think you're going to get something fast and tomorrow, then don't do it, because you really have to be in for the long game. Also, really get to know your numbers and your finances. I suppose the other thing is just keep honing your craft. If you aren't forming relationships, building that trust and that partnership with people, then what have you got?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Our Ways to Wealth. Here we have Marie, who owns a recruitment firm in Auckland. Why don't you give us a couple of sentences about who you are and what you're about? And
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we're coming up to 30 years in business and March the 20th.
Nice.
And look, it's Team Recruitment. We've been around for that long and been specialising in white collar of freight and logistics supply chain space, which is really quite exciting.
Yeah.
I myself has been doing it for a little bit longer than 30 years. Love recruitment, and it's just fantastic being able to be in a role where it's worthwhile work and you're helping people with their lives and their careers.
Cool. Yeah. So you said that you've been doing it a bit longer than 30 years. So were you all what was the catalyst or the thing that made you start Team?
Well, I went to England and did the big OE over there.
Yeah.
And whilst I was over there, I went to some agencies, and I'd been in banking and finance prior to going. And my best friend at the time was a fantastic typist, but I wasn't, and I never was and never wanted to be. I was more sort of, customer relating.
Yeah.
Anyway, long and the short of it is I went to several agencies. They made me do typing tests, even though I said I didn't like doing it. And then they looked at me like I was, what's wrong with you, when I didn't do very well. And anyway, as it turned out, none of them said to me, because of course Google wasn't around then, there was no way of being able to find something, maybe the yellow pages or white pages maybe. But anyway, I found a recruitment agency via a friend called Banking and Finance Recruitment, and next minute I had jobs. So I was all good. So yeah.
Right.
So I just made my mind up at that point in time that if I ever, because I loved the idea of getting into recruitment. Yeah. If I ever got into it, I would always help people as much as possible. Even if you can't help them, you help them to move on or find something. You don't just, they would have all known that there was a banking and finance recruitment company. So I was a little bit.
You were a bit jaded by that experience. And
it was quite good, because it was like it just woke me up to how you need to treat people how you'd like to be treated.
Totally. So that was the kind of, so what was the allure to recruitment before that then? Because you went through that process, but you said that, you already kind of liked the idea of being in recruitment at some point. So
well, I went to a recruitment agency before I went to England, because looking for a change, didn't know what I wanted to do. And this particular agency put me through several interviews, and back then you were allowed to say this, but they were all in their 40s, etc., and 50s. And, I was a young 20-something-year-old, I think 21 or something, 20. And they said, no, you're too young, come back when you got some more experience. So it just made me determined, I'll get into it. And actually, catalyst for going overseas, really, too.
Okay, cool. And then you basically got placed through a specialist?
No, I came back, went back to that agency again, said I've got some experience.
No, but when you went to the UK, you got placed
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you got placed through a specialist in finance.
Yes, just temp work, really. Just
okay.
Yeah, just so you could live in
And how long did you stay there?
Oh, in England?
Yeah.
Not that long. I was only away for about 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to the 6-month wall when you move country.
Yeah, I also, my now husband was still my boyfriend living over here, so yeah.
Oh, okay, so, you're doing long-term, long distance. That'd be even harder back then if you didn't have Skype. At least, at the very least.
No, it was phone calls.
We've moved on from Skype these days as well, haven't we? But the phones. I remember when I was first here when I was 15, I used to, and obviously we had dial-up. We were as far as dial-up in New Zealand, pretty much, broadly.
Yeah.
So I remember the carrier I was on, I think I was with Vodafone, had if you hung up with it under 60 minutes, it cost $3.
Yes.
So I used to ring my grandmother a lot. And I used to always hang up quickly before the hour got up. Yeah, cool. So then you came back here.
Yes.
You went and worked at the firm that... No. Okay, tell me more. So you went back, you said, I've got experience now. And then they were like, no.
They still said no.
Yeah, okay.
They said, you're still not enough experience. Right. And look, in some ways, they were probably correct in that I only worked in banking and finance. Then I went overseas. I really just temped.
Yeah.
So that wasn't major sort of work experience, really. But look, they weren't right in the end, because I went down the road to the opposition, went and walked up to the owner and said, I want to be in recruitment. And he said to me, we haven't got any sales experience. Well, I did, but that's going back from other jobs, as in after school jobs, etc. But anyway, I nagged him until he finally let me in the door, and then I was his best recruiter ever, and then he finally ended up, I owned that business as well.
Okay, so there was a management buyout there?
Well, yes, he sold the business to somebody who then sold it to me. Yeah.
Okay, and is that now Team?
No.
Okay, cool, awesome. So you came in, you nagged them until they let you play, and then you got to actually do the job, did it really well.
Yeah. And
then he sold it.
Yes.
And as a part of that transaction, there was an opportunity for you to buy in, or how did that work?
Well, the guy that owned it, he basically couldn't afford to pay my commission because I've been earning quite a bit. So he offered me a shareholding to pay for it. And then as I became a shareholder, he then offered me to buy out the rest. So, yeah, I did.
And you did? How many people were in that recruitment team? What was the speciality?
We didn't just started to get into freight back then, because I started it by interviewing a customs clerk.
Right.
And then also my business partner now, Linda, she was in freight, and I had to ring her as a potential client. And then, so it was pretty much just snowballed from there. But, so there was about, I suppose, about 7 of us, 6, 7 of us, right on a GFC again at the time. So it was really
so that was going into the GFC. You bought, when did you buy it?
No, not the GFC. It was actually more share market crash. Yeah. So
of what year?
About, you're showing age now. Well, it was about 88, 89.
Man, Kiwi's got a little bit scarred from that experience, no?
Yeah, I think, I was thinking about that funny enough this morning, is that Kiwis are usually ones to buy houses, not do the share market, but there had been a lot of people at the time that had, and they mortgaged their houses.
Well, they mortgaged their house, they leveraged, and they associate the unfortunate thing about what's happened in 87 and the trickle effects for the country as a whole since are massive.
Yeah.
The consequences of the fear of the participants, the country, around other forms of investment, arguably more productive forms of investment, like even, if you think about the share market, it's just businesses that are traded in a liquid way.
Yeah.
Where Kiwis are happy to own businesses privately.
Yes.
They just don't like when they've got liquidity and there's a value marked every day. There's too much of an association with, I guess, 87 and that really talks more to actually what leverage can do, more so than what equity markets can do.
Yes.
Although, it was a bubble. It was bubble it turned into a bubble because of how people were acting, how market participants acted.
Yes.
But it's interesting how that kind of even today creates, people, I was speaking to someone yesterday and they'd not got into public equity ownership, but they're in finance, they're involved in the managed fund business. There's no difference between owning a bunch of shares and being in a managed fund.
No.
It's just fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like you say, how the perception can really affect behaviour and then.
I think Kiwis got a little bit gun shy after that, and they definitely would invest more in hard bricks and mortar because it, is something I can see and look at, and traditionally your values have gone up, so it's not being a bad bet to take. Yeah,
and it's more illiquid, so it means that the values are typically not so
volatile.
Yeah, volatile.
Yeah,
although getting liquidity is the hard bit. Sometimes, at times, right? Which we've seen over the last couple of years, as I would say, has definitely taken place.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then that would have affected the recruitment business, like it does cyclically. Recruitment are getting affected every time.
Yes.
There seems to be
we get a hiding.
Yeah. Every single time. The first thing to happen is obviously hiring stops.
Yes.
And then all the consequences beyond that, and you've got to really survive. It's hard. It's a hard business.
It is. And look,
feast and famine, would you say?
Yes, probably sometimes a little bit more even sometimes during the years. But the thing with recruitment is it's either you've got quite a few jobs, or you've got quite a few candidates, but often you don't have the two of them together.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's a
chicken and egg all the time.
Chicken and egg situation. But it was tough. And look, I just think it's the same thing with anything. If you've got a good attitude, I've always said it. There's work out there.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be me that goes and gets it? So